And as a supervisor, you have to look at the totality of it. By no means do I condone it, and you're correct. That has been a tradition. That has been a tradition, and many have not been held accountable for that. So I look at that, and the bottom line is that everyone has to be held accountable. They cannot be allowed not to be accountable because they're police officers, whether it's police officers, but you do have women abusers too. Now, we have a combination, but so often there are women who are beaten or mistreated in domestic violence situation, and they cry in silence because as a rookie policeman, I used to go to scenes where the police officers were very lackadaisical about domestic violence. I took it serious, having been raised up in a home with a mother who was domestically violated to every extent. And that's one of the things that led me into law enforcement, because I saw that, I felt that, I believed that. Even as an older person now, you think about it, you raised up as a child seeing your mother abused. That has that effect on you. So, Ms. Tripp, the answer to your question is we will hold them accountable. No one goes untouched in this here. What we will also do is try to work with the family. There are so many NGOs, non-governmental agencies that address this issue, but we need to make the female or male feel comfortable enough that they can come to the system and we will address the issues. For so long, it has not been addressed.
We're going to pause for just 1 second. We got to do a quick station ID break. Listeners, please stay tuned. This is a hot conversation.
Man, that was a good question, Felicia. I came running in the building. That's all.
Have your fun. I said I'm gonna break all that up. Break it up.
Oh, goodness.
We're going to bring all that up.
Break it up. Have your fun.
Okay, we're going to have our fun.
Well, we're back.
And we're back with the conversation, but the conversation is hotter than COVID. And my co-host, David Watkins, said for us to have our fun because he's going to break it up. I guess him and Sir Isaac Lindsay over there. But baby, guess what? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
It's girl power.
It's six
It's girl
against
power
2.
here.
So we're ready, baby.
Now we're going to give Ms. Green the opportunity to respond and answer the question that Felicia Fax asked.
Well, you know what? As myself, I was raised in a house of chaos. You know, I was raised in a house with a mother that suffered a mental illness. That's why I pretty much at the age of 5 went into all sports and became an All-American. I was more at the school than I was at home. I had a sister that acted as my mother. You know, because my mother, we knew she loved us, but she was mentally gone. Because she was abused as a child. It was like a cycle. So I didn't, you know, I'm glad that we were able to get therapy and break that cycle. That's why I went into the mental illness field. Because I wanted people to fear the unknown. And that's a trauma. That's a trauma. Yes, and I was able to get therapy myself, and there's nothing wrong with therapy. That's what people don't understand. Therapy is healing. Crying is healing. Going through that process is healing. So my thing is this, as your sheriff, if I find any allegation of domestic violence, guess what? You're fired on the spot. It's investigated, you're fired on the spot. Because we would not tolerate that. No, you know, there's a sexual harassment policy, and there are other policies within the department. So just know and understand that I come in contact with people every day on every walks of life dealing with domestic violence. I talk to people. I also worked in the community dealing with domestic violence. So I do not tolerate domestic violence when it comes to men or women. I'm balanced. And you got to be, as a sheriff, I'm a fair and balanced, I would be a fair and balanced person because I take that serious. Trauma is serious, and you will not traumatize anyone. You will be fired on the spot.
Yes.
Vote green, November 2nd.
But, you know, and that's interesting she mentioned that. And I heard her say she has observed people with these issues. I have dealt directly with
and I also
some of my favorite officers, people that I held in high esteem. as their supervisor, but when they cross the line, I have had to take actions that have not always been the best. People didn't always find them to be the most popular. I was able as a supervisor to take control of my squad, take control of my department, and run it the way it's supposed to be ran. I did not tolerate it. They knew it was not acceptable. They knew that Sergeant Harris would take actions. Not only that, I just want to briefly, and I'll be brief. Before I left D.C., one of my officers committed suicide. And that was very devastating. If you ever supervise a group of people and you look at them come in every day, day in, and you're talking to them, and you don't know that when this young man, this 26-year-old man, leave your department at night, he came by my office the night before and was talking to me. He said, "Hey, Chief, I'm getting out of here." We talking. And he goes home, and he takes his service revolver. He blows his brains out. And so when we talk about mental health issues, domestic violence, it's very close to home. Having lived through domestic violence, having supervised through domestic violence. And I think every one of us who are on this ticket saying we want to be sheriff, we should put it out there. The fact is that we want to say no. I would challenge every last one of them to say no to domestic violence and discuss their platform on domestic violence. Wouldn't you think, Ms. Green?
Well, I said what I said, and I appreciate you, Miss Wanda Evers. I appreciate you for allowing me to use my platform, and I said what I said about my mother and about how I did experience people with domestic violence and how I handled it, how I worked into. I'm not going to expose the locations in Jackson that deal with domestic violence, but I've been there and I worked with the women there, and I said what I said, and I'm ready to work, and I'm asking everybody to come vote for me November 2nd.
You know, I had came up with an idea, and of course, by me being a woman, and I'm going to say this, I had came up with this idea as far as the sheriff's department and as well as JPD. First of all, we need an office in these departments where our servicemen and women can go and talk to somebody.
Yes.
If I get up in the morning and I'm having an issue with my husband,
Yes.
when I get to work, before I go out there on that street,
Yes, ma'am.
I'm able to go in there and talk to somebody, a preacher, a priest, somebody in general counsel, before I go out there. When I get off duty and I'm still feeling some kind of way, I need to go back in there and talk so I won't go home and take it out on my spouse.
Yes.
I have talked to them about having that, about doing that, you know, and it's like they're not, you know, it doesn't, you know, it doesn't matter. But I think whoever gets in this position needs to consider.
Yes. It's very important, like Ms. Green said, mental health. Myself as a guidance counselor, MS in guidance and counseling, it's very important that they have means to de-escalate. Not only that, not only for that, Wanda, but it's important that we provide those services. Years ago, before Ms. Green probably ever came on the department, we were getting mental aptitude testing. And they, MMPIs as they call it, and they were doing those mental evaluations. I'm not sure if they continue to do it, but it's so much a necessary part, and we must set up programs within our respective department which addresses those issues.
So,
Go ahead.
That's your guy.
You know, David and I had talked about that previously, because we know that the men and women are under a lot of stress, and when they don't receive or they don't have an outlet, they tend to take things out on the people that are closest to them.
Right.
You know, so the counseling, the decompressing, yeah, just all of that after major events that occur at the jail or, you know, at the detention center. I mean, it needs to be addressed.
There is a
It really
need for that. I agree with you on that.
So I have another thing. I'm sorry, London.
No,
Did I
go
interrupt
ahead.
you again?
No.
'Cause you know I had too much coffee this morning. I am. But so here I have a question for Ms. Green and for Ms. Harris, or a statement rather. I've dealt with situations in the past, and I've actually had to call Ms. Green and I've had to call Ms. Harris with things that the police departments weren't addressing, period, so that somebody could look into it. And I know these weren't, and I'm not gonna speak on what the issues were, but there are unpopular subjects among people, okay? How would either one of you all deal with interdepartmental, what's the word for it? Crimes, interdepartmental crimes, so to speak. I've lived in the neighborhood and actually seen with my own eyes a police officer throw dope on a young man who has a felony on his record to this day as a result of it. And I know oftentimes, you know, we talk about how the streets talk intelligence, as you've mentioned
Yes.
before. How are you all gonna handle those investigations so that they aren't tainted with the others who are involved in the department?
Okay. Ms. Green?
Well, it's just like the same situation when you, that's a great question, by the way. It's the same situation with domestic violence. You got to investigate. You cannot just point the finger once that allegation is brought to your attention. It's your duty as the top law official to make sure that it's investigated to the fullest extent of the law, right?
Right.
And once the investigation deemed that that person conducted themselves in that manner, guess what? You're fired.
Girl, y'all made me
I'm serious. I'm ready
Oh,
to
baby,
go November 2nd. Go green, vote green.
Oh, wow. I wish
You
we
know
could
what?
just go around firing people, Ms. Green, but that's not possible.
Well, you heard what I said about everyone. Allegations. As we know, there are so many black people locked up on that are already crucified with
Yes.
allegations. We gotta be careful when we say allegations. You gotta understand the difference between an allegation and an indictment. And Ms. Harris, we all know that. That's exactly what we gotta do. We gotta make sure
And we
we
have so many of them locked
investigate.
up down
So
there.
many locked up, and I take
Yeah.
that serious when it comes to the Brown being locked up.
Yeah.
You understand? We all
Okay.
should.
That's a good question, Ms. Tripp, as it relates to misconduct by police officers. Having worked misconduct by police, color law. I taught that class at JPD for the FBI, for their recruits, color of law, which outlines violations, how a police officer can violate a person's civil rights. We gave them those perimeters. But now let's go back. As a supervisor, precinct 3, working with officers, getting allegations. You do your research. When you hear those allegations, I'm big on intelligence. Intelligence is big because there's a lot of information you can find out about what's going on in your community.
Come on,
Forming
Black,
an
because you know you
intelligence
want to
base.
get in this conversation.
Okay, so what do? Like Ms. Green said, you investigate it. But I think we should have a very active internal affairs division. And in that internal affairs division, it would consist of not only just, let's say hypothetically, the sheriff's department. I think they should have some federal agents on there, because once upon a time, JPD had that. They had FBI agents assigned to their internal affairs division. And we should have other departments in there so we can keep it transparent, because a lot of times, not saying any particular department, but if you let their officer, this may be my friend, one and I may have gone through the academy together, and I know Wanda did this, but because we're friends, I'm not gonna tell on him. But what about if you had a group of people, and I don't believe that group should be housed within the police department. I think they should be housed somewhere else. So if this young lady here want to come make a complaint on Wanda, she should be able to go without feel intimidated or whatever, without Wanda finding out that she came forward until the appropriate time.
Yeah, 'cause they good at telling on you.
So what we need to do, we investigated. We formed this unit, and their main purpose in life is to go out, follow up on the allegations and things of that nature. When we show that in fact that person has violated, then we deal with it. We can't just fire them. Unfortunately, fortunately or unfortunately, they have civil service. It's a process. Having gone through the civil service process with numerous officers, I know it isn't just that easy to fire them. But if you, as a supervisor, if you're keeping your paperwork, you're documenting, and you're showing the evidence that this person violated, you can in fact move to fire them. But it's not as simple as you're fired. This is not a talk show. You can't fire them on the spot.
Well, with the sheriff department, with them being will and pleasure,
That's another thing. I think several people have spoke on it.
Like
I'm a
the
firm
NPR.
believer that we need civil service. We need a civil service with the sheriff department. People need due process, and that is what helps the morale. When people know that a new sheriff is coming in, I'm not going to lose my job. I'm not going to lose my livelihood. That I'm going to that people will hear it objectively. Okay, just because Sheriff Harris Williams bring about a charge, we'll have a board that will look at it. Is she firing me because I campaigned for Wanda or Miss Green, or is she firing me because there's basis? But getting back to the problem with misconduct in law enforcement, I'm a firm believer. Anyone that knows me knows my career. I have always worked against dirty policemen. We cannot put people in jail for the same thing we are doing, and we will hold them accountable.
And as you know, there is a policy and procedure book, and what I clearly, stated earlier, allegations. If the allegation comes to me as your new sheriff on November 2nd, it will be investigated by, if it had to be investigated by an outside entity, just know and understand, that's an allegation. Once it's investigated, then it deemed that it is actually the incident that took place. Like I said before, you're fired.
Okay.
All right, well, that was, Miss Calendula Green, I don't know.
These women don't play with this.
Well, these are strong black women.
These are police officers here.
They ain't going.
But like I said, investigation, that's the allegation.
Yeah, y'all know I did.
This was a great
You gotta be
show.
fair. You gotta be fair.
Come on, Black, cause Black said he got something against
Yeah, I
the
did
women.
I commend these women. It's
Let me
women
tell you
power.
something. This is girl power out here today because, like I said, I don't have a problem with the men or the women running for
Let me see your phone.
position. The problem I have is
Oh, you lying.
hearing men saying that a woman don't need to be the sheriff. And I just had a problem with that because it's too many, it's too many men saying,
Well, why are they saying that?
because they probably feel intimidated.
Why?
Yes.
Because
Well,
they're strong
most
black
men,
women.
I was gonna say,
I mean, what's strong? A strong black man, an alpha say you've been dealing with a lot of betas.
Uh-oh.
An alpha male ain't gonna feel intimidated by a strong.
Why not? Where you gonna
Yeah,
be?
Why
right.
should
Why
he's an
not?
alpha. Why should he feel intimidated?
An alpha man can
I mean,
feel intimidated
No,
by
it's
everybody.
not in an alpha male. It's not in
No.
an alpha male to feel
Okay,
intimidated.
I'll say this, it's watered down men. That,
Them betas.
Okay, let me explain something.
you know, they may be
Hey,
alpha,
hey,
they may be
hold on, hold on.
beta. I
Listen,
wouldn't
I'm
say
not
this.
talking about fraternities now.
Yeah,
we
we
ain't
We talking about structure
of the person.
that's right.
Okay, let me explain something to
We
you.
talking about fraternities, and I don't think I'm talking about the fraternities.
When my father passed,
He was alpha.
I called
Alpha
hell here at WNPR.
Yeah,
Y'all had me going home crying.
yeah.
Y'all had me just doing all kind of stuff.
But one you
Because
you had to put your
the
big girl
men
panties on.
thought that I couldn't handle it.
Yeah.
I went home and sat on my patio one day and I cried and I said, Daddy, why you leaving? You left me with this.
Mm-hmm.
And I heard him say,
Mm-hmm.
get up. I trained you better.
Yeah,
You can do this.
yeah.
And all of a sudden I just stopped crying. Sherry Jones and Geraldine Hubbard, well, they came around there because I couldn't even hardly talk. They had to come to see about me. When I got that in my head,
Mm-hmm.
I said, you know what? I am a strong black woman.
Yes.
And when I came back round here, but it took all that.
I remember the meaning behind that
Yeah.
cry.
It took all that
But
for them to respect
this is what
me.
gets me though. This is what gets me.
Y'all didn't respect me.
Hold on, I did.
I did. And I stood by
let me
your
say
You
side.
sure did.
And I think Dr. Lindsay will agree with me on this right now.
He better not.
All men don't feel like that.
Well, we're not saying.
Now, so you gotta look at now.
A
You
lot
gotta look at
of
this. You
churches
gotta look at this. You gotta look at the age level you talking to. You gotta look at the era
you
of
can't say
men you
age.
talking to. Because I'm telling you something about men. I'm not intimidated by strong women. Period.
No, you're not.
You know why? Because I know who I am. See,
Because you know
I
I know
think
what
y'all
you're
are dealing with men who have some identity.
No, I work
Who have
around
some
men.
identity situation who
Black.
don't know who they are.
I work
Because a
around
strong
men
man is
all
not gonna
day
be
long.
intimidated by a strong woman.
You know, and I changed some policies.
Well,
And when I changed
I mean-
the policies,
But I want to say this though. Both of the candidates that were here this morning, I'm I'm excited.
I am too.
thank you.
I'm excited because I'm gonna tell you
So am
something.
I.
And then
That shows their strength.
yeah, because see, my dad's law enforcement for 30-some years.
Yeah.
And I worked in internal affairs at the Department of Wildlife and Fisheries. And I had to investigate incidents where it was violence and stuff like that in families and stuff. So I know how it go.
Yes.
I know how it go. But I get mad with one to say that men feel like that because I'm telling you something. All men do not feel like that. I don't know who y'all talking
They
to.
might pretend they don't.
'Cause I
Not
don't know who y'all talking to.
What don't they feel like? What are you saying?
She's saying that men feel intimidated by women in power. A lot of men don't feel intimidated by that. I don't think it's.
A lot of men actively work, even when the woman is the most qualified, to subdue a woman from outside.
Right.
Not some she actually.
Y'all working with the wrong
not,
generation
not,
of men.
No, not something that not something
I
that
still
they're
say
asked
that.
to be given, but that which they have earned. And I'm not talking about one woman
Right.
or two. This happens on a regular basis.
It does.
Yes.
It does.
I get
You
it.
can have a woman and a man with the same credentials.
Okay.
You can have a woman go apply for this job,
Mm-hmm.
has done everything the man has done everything that she's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
But guess what? We'll walk in there and say, we want him for the job.
Yes.
So why?
All
why
men
does
don't
that
feel
not-
like that.
Why?
Well, we're not saying but you
but
got.
enough of
But
them
with-
who have the power.
I was gonna say black. I mean, and you know.
And
I
I'm
noticed.
just generally
Hold on. Now,
speaking.
I noticed men that are in power put women in power in their cabinets and in positions. If men feel like that, they wouldn't do that.
But guess why?
Some men.
They wouldn't do it. I'm
Some
saying. I
men.
mean, why would you?
I know a lot of men that are for women in power.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of them out
As a
here.
general rule,
That's right.
black, as a general, and I have to say that, I mean, like seriously.
I'm
Let me
always
tell
against
you.
the vote.
Okay,
Look at
okay,
this in Atlanta.
Hold on. Let me give him two great examples. Being
two great
from a healthcare industry as a nurse, where men are the minority.
Mm-hmm.
When a male goes to nursing school, comes out, he excels faster
Sure does.
in administration
Yes, does.
than a woman does.
But you
Yes,
said
it does.
because they're a minority.
Okay, but no, all right. Now, hold on.
They always go boost the
Hold
minority
on.
now.
But, all right, but then let me give you
Oh, my
let me give you the
goodness.
flip side of it.
Oh, my
Like,
goodness.
Hold up, like, before you have to eat them words. Because I'm also in a male-dominated industry,
Right.
okay, as a female
Promoter.
promoter.
Right.
Which I don't know too many female promoters.
I said that's why I said I'm really in an all-male dominated
Right.
industry.
But see,
So-
you have excelled.
But
see,
they
The
excel.
minority always excel.
No,
But they scared of her.
No.
See, that's a man comment he made.
But it's
That's
like,
the truth.
if you don't,
We're the minority. We're categorized.
Yeah.
You know, we're helped out. We're helped out. You're doing it too.
I'm doing it.
You're doing it
I knew
too.
what she said now
No,
that
I
the
gave
nursing
you-
field, the
I gave you
men
both. I gave you both
are the
sides.
minority.
Okay, but
That's what she
let's
said. She said they
look at
excel. There's a
what we
reason for
have
that.
here.
There are other female promoters, but I'm just telling you, we get what's left. And I'm gonna tell you, you said I excel, and I thank God for it. But baby, I've excelled off scraps. What was left on the table,
Right.
cookies and
Tell you.
crumbs.
Well, them the
I ain't
scraps.
been
That's
given.
it.
I ain't been given the steak and filet mignon and
Them
the
scraps,
sea
I
bass
sure-
and snapper. But I'm just,
That's
I'm just
right.
saying. But most women, I've said this before. We can take something small and make it great.
And make it
Anything a
great.
man give us,
Yeah.
we're gonna make better.
And we gave birth to y'all.
And not only that,
That leads to my other point.
when we think about law enforcement, Black, when we
Okay.
think about law enforcement, that has traditionally been a male occupation.
I agree.
It has traditionally been, with my agency, the FBI, a white male organization.
I agree.
So when you have females, being that we're qualified, we can do it all, but we still face challenges because they are not receptive. Most of them are not receptive of a female leading these departments. It's just a reality. But what we do, we go, we prepare ourselves, we show that we can lead, and we ask that these ladies get behind us and lift us up.
I understand.
Okay?
And I
Because
hear
the
men
males
say
will
this.
not do it.
I do hear men say these things about women.
Yes,
and
you
these-
do.
this
Because
and
you
that.
know, when my
But-
father died, a lot of them said, oh, she ain't gonna be able to handle it. Oh, she can't do it. Oh, she ain't Charles Evans. But guess what? I'm the seed of Charles Evans.
That's
But
right.
See, but see, let me say this. I just hate for everybody to categorize every man. I'm not saying men don't think like that, because men do. But every man don't think like that. You got a lot of men who don't really even
Okay,
We're not
let
saying
me
don't
say
think. Well,
this.
y'all say every man.
Okay, let me say this.
Y'all said that. I'm sitting
What
back there
if-
listening.
What if your wife became the president of the United States
I'm gonna be the first man.
and you were just black?
I'm gonna be the first man.
She getting all
There's no way.
the
Hold
publicity.
on. There's no way an
She
alpha
getting
male
all-
gonna sit there and just be black.
Oh, don't
There's
give me
no
that
way.
bull crap.
No, I'm gonna be the first man.
That's bull crap.
I'm gonna be the first man, and I'm gonna wear it like
Your
a
pride
man.
gonna start
Well,
shaking
you're
a little bit.
then.
No, because
Black said he gonna have tea parties in the garden.
now we probably have Monday night football games and stuff like that. But if I'm the
Okay,
first,
so then when your wife started telling you what to do,
my wife tells me try to tell me what to do now.
but she doing that. But I mean,
I mean,
with that power,
that
if she
doesn't
say,
change.
if she say I need you to go upstairs and go to bed, so I can have this to myself, you gonna go to bed?
Ain't nobody gonna let nobody treat
See?
them like that, man
See?
or woman. What I'm saying is this right
You
here.
watch the Oval.
When a man knows, that's right. When a man knows who he is, and when a woman knows who she is, you don't have those problems. Y'all are dealing with folks who have identity problems.
Well, then that's
They
all
don't know
that-
who they are.
Well, then that's all in Harris County.
They who y'all told them they are. They don't know who they
I
are.
mean, no matter how nice or how you been over, or how nice you are as a female,
Yeah.
you still get put on the back burner.
And I-
This is what I'm
Let's
talking
be
about.
real. It's
And,
another protection.
wait, we get put on the back burner and be propositioned.
Hold on.
Right,
So,
right,
let me say this.
right.
It don't
Wait,
matter.
male chauvinism.
Uh-oh.
Okay, that now you getting that.
As it pertains
Male
to that,
chauvinist.
hold
Because
on.
let me
as it pertains to that, you have a lot of women who are male chauvinists too, because
Exactly.
they're the benefactors, because they decided to bend over or get on their knees.
Right.
They got-
Talk
they-
about it,
they
girl.
continue to uphold it for those men that are doing it.
That's right.
I agree.
And all women ain't the same. An alpha woman is nothing like a ordinary woman. Okay.
Don't you know I know that?
All right.
But y'all putting the alpha male with a beta, and it don't work like that.
Let me
me
tell you
something.
something.
If Nate was to become the president of the United States, I'll show y'all something.
You be the first man.
I'll be the first man proudly. I get my little initiative I'm supposed to have, like that. I do all that. I push my thing like I'm supposed to. I will show y'all. It wouldn't matter to me, because guess what?
That's
At the
you,
end
though.
of the day,
But that's you.
at the end of the day, I know who I am.
That's because you are secure in yourself, but many of them are not secure in
But
themselves.
Felicia just told you why a lot of women are going along with
And
it.
let me
Oh,
also say this: you got a lot of beta males who want to be alpha males, and I think they the most dangerous.
Yep.
A beta male pretending to be an alpha is very
Okay,
That's
now,
right.
that's what you got
That's
putting
right.
women down.
Because
That's
they have
right.
a
And I'm just being honest with
You know,
Because
and
they have a
see,
misconception
and
of being
see,
an alpha man.
but let
See,
me
that's
say
what you got
that.
putting
But let me
women
say
down.
this.
Now you understand. I want to go out.
We ended at 10:30
Right,
today.
because see,
We
when
need to.
when a man come in here, and I have did this on my own, where we've had people that have been on the radio, and I had to leave my house and come around here now.
Mm-hmm.
When I had to come around here and step to a 6'2" male, And my DJ had behind the studio thing right there.
Oh, what you doing though, boy? You about 6 foot yourself now. You ain't like you.
But when you say that women tend to do things a little bit better, we are more attentive to
Yeah, I
things,
say that.
and we tend to get it right.
Yes.
We want to resolve. When you say that,
Yeah, you know why I say that?
Why is that?
Because God made women to be a helpmate. He wasn't gonna give.
Amen.
Hold on. He wasn't gonna give man something that just ain't where it needs to be. Yeah, y'all are all that because
Okay, it's
we
our
have to
time.
have y'all.
Okay, we're gonna resume
So,
this next week.
Those fake
Thank
men
you
who
all
aren't
very
really. Hold on,
much.
we said that for your car, guys. Don't touch that button yet.
Oh, now
They want to cut your button off and get a good
Oh,
point.
now you don't want
But when y'all
Come
run
on,
across
Cypher.
fake men who don't really know the value of women and treat women like that, y'all want to put every man in that loop. And that's just not true. That's all I'm saying. That's
No,
just
you know
not
what?
true.
We're gonna continue this next Wednesday, 9 o'clock, right here
I'll
on
be out of time.
90.1 WMPR. I might be too. No, I'm just kidding. But
I love all y'all though.
we love you too.
We love you too.
I'm Yolanda
Now get to work.
Singleton.
Yes,
Hey,
boss. Yes, boss. Have no problem with it.
I'm Yolanda Singleton.
I'm Wanda Evans.
David Watkins.
and Beverly Harris, remember, November the 2nd, vote Beverly Harris Williams, Sheriff, Hines County, the best choice.
That's right.
That's right.
Come on, tell y'all, so I didn't want to say it on air. I see my dad and them struggling with who they are. And some things don't even have to work.